The United States is caught up in a partisan war, pulling apart politicians, communities, even families.
A new CBS News poll found the country is still divided.
There's a reason why Americans are more polarized than
The growing political polarization in America is hard to ignore.
And yet the gap between sides has never felt so wide.
Shows the challenge to bring the country together is only just beginning.
Tell me what democracy looks like!
America, divided around its own democracy.
modern era. Today, nearly 2/3 of Americans say that we are more divided as a nation than we've ever been before. This isn't about policy. This is about emotion. This is about hatred.
Well, democracy doesn't work.
They want to get to where they can control us.
In his fear, I'm really afraid. He got elected not on a message of coming together. He got elected on a message of tearing us apart.
They're getting very different information, very different perspectives on exactly the same issues.
The line between liberals on the left and conservatives on the right has never been so clear.
And Catherine, there was so much talk of unity today in a deeply divided country. Does that message, do you think, resonate?
We found opinions as sharply divided as the nation itself.
Has reinforced how politically divided America remains. Political opponents should not be enemies, and yet that is too often the reality in this country.
Healed, it feels like we're even more divided than we've ever been.
At this point, it's impossible to ignore how much of the national conversation centers around exhausting the same tired old narrative. The big divide, the culture wars, the coming war, the fight for our freedom, the revolution, the oppression, the New World Order, so on and so forth. Every day there seems to be a new historic milestone for how much worse the world is becoming. Whether it's environmental, social, or political. And it has been exhausting on all sides. And the kicker is that the continual grind and erosion upon our spirits is working. The secret to why this works lies in the power of the mysterious other. For the myriad of talking heads that make up our media landscape, social and traditional, creating a shadowy, unidentified mass of others who are perfectly opposite of everything in which you believe, makes it easy to build up an audience of outraged and action-poised warriors willing to fight tooth and nail to preserve that way of life. They want to harm your children. They want to take away your rights. They want to restrict your freedom of speech. They want to tear down everything you know and love, and there is nothing you can do about it. The accusations and fears bombard you around every corner of news, social media, television, art. They have even crept into your foods, drinks, and consumer goods. There's nowhere you can turn without some dizzying, taunting frenzy of verbal mobilization and honest expose driving you more and more towards a feeling that you have to do something. You can't stand by and let this world keep getting wrenched away from what is right and good. You have to take action and set things back to the way that they should be. Until suddenly you find yourself feeling nothing but vitriolic rage and hatred for them, the other, hidden under a thin veneer of support for your beliefs. There's no saving them, for they're just too far gone, and now you must do what you must do to set things right. And so you end up at a crossroads. Take action where no one else will, or turn it off and walk away. There have been few inventions across history that have moved the world forward in leaps and bounds like the internet. For the better part of history, mankind's greatest thinkers have theorized every possible way to enlighten the masses and build utopia through universal education and shared knowledge. And in our lifetime, we finally have achieved this in the form of radio, television, print media, and most importantly, the internet. Much as these thinkers would have wished, the media landscape has brought magnificent displays of camaraderie, community building, scientific development, and social growth. On the other side, though, we have seen the same information used to hurt, divide, and break our society down at its most basic levels of trust. We can't trust our family, we can't trust our neighbors and friends, we can't even trust our leaders. The biggest tragedy of the modern era is that we have the most information of any point in human history with the easiest access, yet every day it feels as if it's a battle to get even your closest neighbor to corroborate even the most basic of observational truths. So why do I care? Why should we care? Well, the thing that is most affected by the plague of misinformation is the fabric of social discourse itself. I'm talking about civil liberties, technology, sports, politics, entertainment, you name it. It seems that everything has become a politicized mess of faulty opinions and cliquish adherence to being on the wrong side of history. People don't generally like pain. Generally. So when it comes to emotional and mental well-being, our brains react in the same way as our bodies. In other words, our brains interpret being wrong or dissent against our beliefs in exactly the same way as an attack causing physical harm. So if you have an organism that doesn't like to be challenged, and you give them an entity that only supplies them with what they want to see, you'll end up with a creature engorged on its own cycle of personal filth. This is the curse of the internet. So let's take a step back into the land of make-believe. Imagine you're at a party. Drinks are flowing, laughs are being had, and everyone's either paired off and socializing or tearing up the dance floor. You're chilling in a corner, sipping your drinks, smoking a doobie, chatting up a buddy, and just surveying the landscape, when you hear someone on the other side of the party, loud, drunk, and really talking the ears off of anyone who will listen. You've heard him proselytizing everything from the truth of crypto to how he would have voted for Obama twice if he could. And now that he's hit his stride, he's really about to send it home. Then you hear it. Now hear me out. Now, never in the history of ever has anything good been associated with the phrase, hear me out. That's up there on the level with, we need to talk, with all due respect, and I'm gonna let you finish. And part of the reason is that semi-knowledgeable blowhards have been yelling misinformation at us for so long that we automatically assume that anything confrontational or against the normal narrative that we would need to hear out is likely going to be something bigoted, ignorant, or plain old outlandish. Well, I would like to take back that phrase. I want to make that phrase a call to approach conversations from a listening first perspective, not a trap to get you to listen to some outlandish bullshit. So what do I mean by listening first? I'll get more in depth a little bit later, but follow me for a second. There are a lot of good content creators out here producing thoughtful video essays, ripe with interesting analysis and great presentation alike. And I love the information that they give. In fact, I will probably use a lot of the information on this channel to avoid repeating information and to give them the respect that they're owed for putting all of the information out here. But I would like to take an attempt to step beyond the video essay format. Video essays and their written counterpart, essays, inherently are one-sided. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't initially believe, even partially with the point of view being espoused, then you're not likely to engage with the content. Simply put, the people who most often need to see the information that will make their lives better are not getting that information. Part of the reason is that algorithms are not optimized to help humanity, they're optimized for profits and outrage. The other part of the reason is that we love our caves. We love to sit in circles of acknowledgement that validate our beliefs and feelings. This isn't a left, right, in, out, red, blue issue. This is an everybody issue. We love to be right. We love to be validated, and that safety and security keeps us feeling like we are good people. My goal here is to spark a community of social discussion, as opposed to the dunking on libs, shitting on conservative style discourse that currently populates our social scene. What I mean is that often the intellectuals of any community present information in a way that inherently assumes that anyone not on that same train of thought is stupid or evil or in some way lesser. In some cases, this might be a little bit true, but in many cases, pretty much every case, this is only serving to drive people further from the truth. Rather than presenting information in argument format to be accepted or rejected, I would like to present a conversation involving multiple viewpoints so that we can entice people to participate on equal footing to arrive at a shared understanding of the whole story behind social issues. I want to give people tools to understand one another on the same ground, absent of judgment, so that we can have discussions and not arguments. I don't want to present my perspective and try to convince people to believe like me, because inevitably very few people change their minds to a direct presentation of the opposite perspective. More often than not, the best solution is to give people the tools to question and talk about both sides of an argument and decide where their viewpoints lie within the updated information. This could result in believing your initial belief, but with more knowledge and understanding of the other side, or it could result in an honest reinterpretation and re-examination of your beliefs. At the end of the day, it's about respecting opposing beliefs and people's rights to believe them, while also educating one another on flaws in their belief systems. In other words, building up nuanced beliefs instead of tearing each other down. There's a good precedent for this kind of thing. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Socrates crafted an alternative teaching method that has since been dubbed the Socratic method. In this method, you start with a central belief and continuously and repeatedly bring questions and challenges to that initial belief and its subsequent hypotheses in order to arrive at a shared conclusion. The reason I bring this up is that I would like to kind of purge the debate bro mindset away from the internet and kind of replace it with something that is a little bit more suited to human discourse. We need not have to approach conversation with a win-first mentality, because that inherently stunts our ability to learn and grow. If we're always looking for the challenge or the argument, then we're not listening, we're not learning. Instead, we challenge our beliefs as a community and rebuild new understanding from those core building blocks. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is, I don't think that anyone is stupid. I don't think that ignorance or misunderstanding are grounds for dismissal from society. I don't think that anyone in the world is beyond improvement, myself included. I don't want to create an army of people with my belief structure, but what I do want to do is help us listen and hear one another better so that we can actually solve our differences as opposed to fight over them perpetually. So let's start our own revolution. Let's take the world of online discourse beyond the talking heads on the screen and create a collective conversation that tackles the issues of our social world in a productive and progressive manner. There's a reason why gun ownership and violent resistance is being not so subtly emphasized as the way out of these divisive times. There's a reason why media is trying to make you feel like you're a victim of some hidden conspiracy. There's a reason why you're being asked to identify with superheroes and embattled anti-heroes fighting against deep convoluted conspiracy. There's a reason why the enemy is always within. There's a reason why you're being made to feel angry, scared, inadequate, or insulted. It's because anger and fear are always a catalyst for decisive action. Love and hate are just two sides of the same coin. You can only hate someone for which you have some kind of expectation, like love or friendship. That's why our families, friends, and adjacent community is who we're being told to hate. Let's break through that hatred. Let's learn to talk to one another and heal those wounds in our community. Let's learn to lead with compassion and understanding before forming judgment. So if this seems like something that interests you, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share me with everyone you can find, and tune in next time to hear me out.